Assalamualaikum and good evening, everyone. My name is Muhammad Akmal bin Rahman, and I am both the moderator and a panelist for tonight's discussion on the topic of underage marriage. As a sociologist, I have researched the effects of underage marriage on individuals and society. I am also a representative of an organization that advocates for children's rights, and I have seen firsthand the devastating consequences of forced underage marriage. I am honored to be here today to lead this important conversation and to share my insight with all of you.
Hello everyone, my name is Fatin Natasya and I am a sociologist specializing in family dynamics. I have made few research about the effects of underage marriage on both sides, which are the individuals and involving the societies.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Aslam Shamsuddin and I am an advocate for children's rights. I've worked with underage victims of forced marriage and have seen the devastating consequences it can have on young life.
Hi everyone, my name is Farith Azmi and I am a legal expert on marriage laws. I have studied the laws surrounding underage marriage in different countries and the challenges that come with enforcing them.
Hello, my name is Farah Najihah and I am a religious leader. I have dealt with many cases in the past where young people have been pressured into marrying for religious or cultural reasons. So, I will be sharing my thoughts on the role of religion in underage marriage.
Thank you, everyone, for introducing yourself. Now, let's begin our discussion on the topic of underage marriage. We have a lot to cover. Let's get started. Now, let's dive into the problem at hand. Why is underage marriage happening? I would like to start by discussing the cultural and societal pressure that often leads to young people being forced into marriage. For what I know, after conducting research upon this issue, I noticed that there is a similar trend that calls the youth to engage in early marriage, which is the influence of social media, where there is a party that share their sentiments on how youth should start dating and build their family early on. And instead of pursuing and continuing their studies, they have decided to work after reaching the set age for having work just to support their family financially.
And well, from my research, I have found that in many cultures and societies, there is a strong expectation for young people to marry and start families at a young age. This pressure can come from parents, grandparents, and even the communities. It's not just the cultural, but also in some parts of the world, it's a financial problem. Parents marry off their daughters to get rid of the financial burden. As in psychology aspect, those young children that has been forced to marriage at a young age by their parent, because they are also following the trend. That's all from me.
From my side, as an advocate for children's rights, I've seen firsthand how poverty can also play a role in underage marriage. Many families in poverty will marry off their daughters at a young age in order to reduce the number of mouths that they have to feed or to secure a financial benefit. It's not just cultural, but also in some parts of the world, it's a financial problem. Parents marry off their daughters to get rid of the financial burden.
From a legal perspective, I can say that the laws surrounding underage marriage are often weak or not enforced properly. This allows for underage marriage to take place without proper oversight or intervention. For information, Muslims in Malaysia who are subject to Sharia law under the country's dual legal system only need to be 16 years old. Who, meanwhile, non-Muslim must be 18 years old, at least 18 years old to get Hijab. As issue involving Muslim marriage fall under state jurisdiction, Selangor is currently the only state that has raised the legal marriage age to 18. Thank you.
In religious perspective, I have seen how religion can also be used to justify underage marriage. Some religious leaders will pressure young people into marriage, claiming it is their religious duty. This is not only wrong, but also illegal and goes against the teachings of most religions. For example, child marriage is not peculiar to Muslims. However, the most recent data shows that it is the most prevalent in the Muslim community, and it is argued that in Islam, a girl is allowed to marry once she reaches puberty. Thus, also no law that sets a minimum age of marriage can apply to Muslims.
Thank you all for sharing your thoughts on the reason behind underage marriage. It is clear that there are many cultural, societal, financial, legal, and religious factors at play. It is important to address all of these issues in order to effectively address the problems on the underage marriage. So, we have discussed the reason why underage marriage is happening. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons of child marriage. Miss Fatin, can you start us off by discussing the pros of child marriage?
Okay, well, for me, one of the main reason of child marriage is that it is often seen to protect the young girls from sexual abuse and exploitation. And in some cultures, child marriage is seen to ensure that a young girl is not sexually active before marriage and to protect her from being taken advantage of by men. It is also seen to ensure that young girls are financially supported and have a stable home life. This phenomenon mostly occurring in a state of area where they lack of awareness and technologies. The area likely to happen among people who lives in rural area. They usually follow the culture that has been made from generation to generation. That's all from me.
Another pro of child marriage is that it can provide financial stability for families. In some cultures and societies, child marriage is a way for families to secure a better financial future for their daughters. This can include arranging marriage with a wealthy or well-connected families or with men who can provide for the family financially.
In a legal perspective, one pro of child marriage is that it can provide legal protection for young girls who are at risk of being abused or exploited. For example, in some cultures, child marriage is seen as a way to protect young girls from being forced into prostitution or other forms of exploitation.
Okay, so from a religious perspective, child marriage can be seen as a way to ensure that young people are married according to the teachings of their religions and to secure a better future for them. Especially for what happening now, many young women married with a man who are twice their age, which already have a steady job and a stable career, so that their future is secure.
Thank you for highlighting the pros of child marriage. Now, let's discuss the cons of child marriage. Miss Fatin, can you start us off by discussing the cons of child marriage?
Okay, one of the drawbacks of child marriage is that it can give a negative impact on the physical and emotional well-being of the girls. As well as we have discussed earlier, child brides who got pregnant early has a higher risk of complication during pregnancy and also the childbirth, as well as emotional trauma and also isolation. They are also at a higher risk of contracting sexually transmitted infections because they lack of knowledge and also awareness. This also can affect the baby's condition if the mother is lack of nutrient or due to poor sanitation. Thank you.
Okay, for me, another con of child marriage is that it can limit the education and future opportunities of young people. Many child brides are forced to drop out of school, which limits their future opportunities and ability to support themselves and their families. It also limits their opportunities to contribute to their communities and society as a whole.
Okay, for me, one of the cons of child marriage is that it denies young people the legal rights and protection that adult women have, including the right to property and inheritance, and the right to make decisions about their own lives. This can leave them vulnerable to abuse and exploitation. Thank you.
Okay, so in a religious perspective, child marriage really goes against the teachings of most religions, which promotes the marriage should be between two consenting adults. Child marriage violates the rights of the child and can have a serious negative consequences on their physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being.
Thank you for the pros and cons that have been shared by all of you. As we can see, there may be some perceived benefits of child marriage, but the negative impacts are far outweighing any potential benefits. It is crucial that we continue to raise awareness and advocates for change to ensure that young people are protected from any consequences from child marriage. Now, now that we have discussed the reason why underage marriage is happening, let's talk about the current efforts being made by authorities to address the problem. Again, Ms. Fatin, can you tell us any government initiative or laws that have been put in place to address underage marriage?
Well, there have been several initiatives and laws based on different countries to address the issue of underage marriage. For example, many countries have raised the legal age of marriage to 18, and some of them between 16 to 17 years old with parental consent. And for me, parental consent is important to avoid the cases of early marriage become increasing. Some countries have also implemented laws that require a court or judge to approve marriage under 18. And the good is, Malaysia has also implemented this law. And additionally, many countries have begun to prosecute those who arrange or participate in forced marriage, including parents, religious leaders, and also community leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Fatin. Now, from my experience, I can say that child protection agencies are also working to address underage marriage by providing support and assistance to young people who are at risk of being forced into marriage. They also work to raise awareness about the issue and educate communities on the dangers and consequences of underage marriage.
Okay, I can say that there are also efforts being made to improve the enforcement of laws surrounding underage marriage. This includes training for law enforcement and judicial officials to recognize and address the issue, as well as increase penalties for those who participate in forced marriage. Other than that, UNICEF has appreciated the opportunity to work closely with the government of Malaysia in the development of the National Strategy Plan in handling the causes of child marriage and to support its implementation. And the result is set the minimum age of marriage at 18 years old without exception for all boys and girls in Malaysia in all legal jurisdictions, including customary laws. Thank you.
Well, many faith-based organizations are working to raise awareness about the negative effects of underage marriage and to change cultural attitude towards the practice. They are also offering support and counseling to young people who are at risk of being forced into marriage and working with communities and leaders to raise awareness about the dangers of underage marriage.
Okay, thank you everyone for sharing the current efforts being made by authorities to address the problem of underage marriage. It is great that there are a wide variety of initiatives and laws being put in place to address this issue. Even so, there is still more need to be done on the next step. So, on to the next agenda is suggestion for improvement. Now that we have discussed the reason why underage marriage is happening and the current effort being made by authorities to address the problem, I would like to hear the suggestion for improvement regarding the issue. Can anyone start us off with their suggestion?
All right, I start with my suggestion. Well, from my research, I would suggest that more education and awareness campaign are needed to change social attitude and towards underage marriage. This could include education for young people on their rights and the risk of underage marriage, as well as education for parents and community leaders on the dangers and consequences of the practice. And additionally, I believe that more resources should be allocated to child protection agencies to provide support for young people who are at risk of being forced into marriage at early age. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Fatin. From my experience, I would like to suggest that more needs to be done to empower young people and give them a voice in the decision making process. This includes providing education and resources to young people so they can make informed decisions about marriage and their own life. I will also suggest that more needs to be done to hold parents and community leaders accountable for their role in forcing young people into marriage.
For me, from a legal perspective, I would suggest that more needs to be done to strengthen laws surrounding underage marriage and improve enforcement. This includes increasing penalties for those who participate in forced marriage and establishing a mandatory waiting period before a marriage involving a minor can take place.
Okay, so from my opinion, I would suggest that we need to educate religious leaders and communities about the negative effects of underage marriage and to encourage them to speak up against the practice. I will also suggest that religious organizations provide support and counseling to young people who are at risk of being forced into marriage so that they will likely speak their will rather than be scared and just follow their parents' command. Thank you.
Okay, thank you again, everyone, for sharing your suggestion for improvement. There is a lot more work to be done to address the problem of underage marriage, and it is important for us to continue to raise awareness and advocate for change to ensure that young people are protected from the dangers of underage marriage. We need to empower the young people and give them a voice, hold parent and community leaders accountable, strengthen the law, and educate the religious leader and communities about the negative effects of underage marriage. The next step are to continue to raise awareness, educate, and advocate for change. Then we have discussed the reason why underage marriage is happening, the current effort being made by authorities to address this problem, suggestion for improvement, and the pros and cons of child marriage. Now, let's talk about our hopes for the future of this issue. Mr. Aslam, can you start us off by sharing your hopes for the future of child marriage?
Thank you, Amka. My hope is that we can continue to work towards a world where child marriage is seen as a thing of the past. This includes working to break the cultural and societal norms that perpetuate this practice and providing education and opportunities for young people to make informed decisions about their own lives.
Thank you, Mr. Aslam. And my hope for the future of child marriage is that we can continue to raise awareness about the negative impact of this practice and advocate for change. This includes increasing education and awareness about the rights of children, providing support and resources for young people affected by child marriage, and also working with communities and families to create alternative solutions in order to protect young girls from abuse and exploitation. Thank you.
Alright, Miss Fatin. For me, I hope is that we can continue to work towards laws and policies that protect the rights of children and prevent child marriage. This includes strengthening laws and policies that prevent child marriage and provide support and resources for young people affected by this practice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Iqbal. So, from me, I hope that we can continue to educate and raise awareness on the teachings of most religions, which promotes that marriage should be between two consenting adults. Child marriage goes against the rights of the child and can have a serious negative consequences of their physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being.
It is clear that we all share the same hope for a future where child marriage is no longer a practice and young people are protected and supported in making their own decision in life. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Aslam, Ms. Fatin, Mr. Iqbal, and Ms. Farah for participating in this discussion on underage marriage. We have reaching our conclusion. We have heard from all experts and the panelists on the reason why this problem is happening, current effort made by authorities, suggestion for improvement, the implication of child marriage, the pros and cons of child marriage, and the hopes for future of this issue. It is clear as water that child marriage is a complex issue that is deeply rooted in cultural, societal, and economic factors. However, it is also clear that child marriage is a harmful practice that can have serious negative impacts on the physical, emotional, and economic well being of young people. We must continue to raise awareness and advocate for change to ensure that young people are protected from the dangers of child marriage. We must work together to break the cultural and societal norms that perpetuate this practice and provide education and opportunities for the young people to make informed decisions about their own life. Let's all commit to working toward a world where child marriage is seen as a thing of the past and young people are protected and supported in making their own decision about their life. Thank you all for participation and contribution in this important discussion.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you guys.
Goodbye.
Bye bye. Happy working with you guys. Thanks for the discussion.